The headlines: the Patriots demand conduct of all elections on same day. Plateau government slams military for failing to protect residents. London teenagers speak on how parents and social media might shape their new votes. And Malaysians protest over Trump's nominee for US envoy. Details shortly.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Obong Victor Atta, has faulted the 1999 Constitution, describing it as a military constitution that lacks the input of Nigerians. Atta stated this at the National Summit on the Future of Nigeria's Constitutional Democracy held in Abuja. Signature TV correspondent Nasiru Usman now reports.
The Abuja Summit, which will run for 2 days, aims to push for fundamental amendments in the 1999 Constitution to make it inclusive and equitable. Political leaders, patriots, intellectuals, and interests from across the country are taking part in the Abuja Summit.
What's going on this week is just like a climax. This thing has been going on from various zones. All the 6 zones have had cause to come together to evaluate, to make comments, to make suggestions. And what we're just trying to do, like I've said earlier on, is to collate all of this, distill them, and then turn them away from a cacophony of voices to a solid document.
This constitutional conference, we are seeking that powers to be devolved. Too much power at the center. Unitary system has not favored us. We never favor us. We are a federation, and so the federating units must have enough power.
Where are the granite pyramids? We don't see them again. Where is the huge? We're number 1 in producing cocoa in the world. Why don't we produce again? Because everybody is today depending on the oil from Niger Delta. We'll come and sit down and share the oil. But our fathers didn't do that. Our fathers had granite pyramids and they had all these other things to produce. We're a productive country. We're not only consuming.
The former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Victor Atta, faulted the 1999 Constitution as a document forced on the people. He said that the Constitution needed to be amended for inclusivity and to promote constructive collaboration among all sectors of Nigeria.
The legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution, the viability of our current political system, the path towards restoring true sovereignty to the Nigerian people. This agenda, therefore, is not only the right one, but it is in fact the only one that matters now. We endorse it in its entirety because the truth is this. The 1999 Constitution was not the people's constitution. It was a military decree imposed without the consent of the people. The military suspended the 1963 Constitution, which remains the last legal expression of our people's collective will and agreed terms of conditions for staying together. That Constitution, I'd like to emphasize, was suspended.
While officially declaring the event open, former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyoku, spoke on the significance of the summit.
Our present 1999 Constitution, as amended, is not such a constitution. It was not democratically formulated. It was instead imposed on the country through a decree by the military administration. And the governance system derived from it is not only non-inclusive, but also induces over-expenditure of the nation's resources on administration rather than on capital development. Hence, the need for a new constitution made by the peoples of our country.
Other delegates spoke to journalists on the expectations from the summit.
103 million Nigerians are living under multidimensional poverty. 18.5 million Nigerian children are out of school. More than 70% of these numbers that I just shown out are children with disabilities and people with disabilities. And there's a correlationship between poverty and disabilities.
Whether it is the present constitution, as imperfect as it is, or a new constitution, if it stems out of platforms like this, it doesn't really matter if the operators of the constitution are not ready to live by the rule of law. So it is very, very important, value reorientation and, coming up with handlers who will see the Constitution as not just an ordinary document, but the very document that creates our existence, creates all the organs and the institutions within the federation called Nigeria.
I believe women already are 50% of the population anyway. And to find that in the National Assembly and in many other positions, we find women in very, very almost skeletal positions. This needs to be done, and things need to be done to improve this. Also, in terms of children, education, I believe education also needs to be placed in a more pivotal position than it is now, especially for childhood education.
The objective of the National Summit is to create from the present constitution a new document that speaks to the aspirations of Nigerians across all regions and institute a governance structure that frees the potentials of the black man's most populous nation. In Abuja, Nasiru Usman reporting for Signature TV.
A group of eminent Nigerian elder statesmen, the Patriots, called for urgent electoral reforms to allow for free and fair polls in the 2027 general elections. In a communique issued at the end of a three-day summit held in Abuja, the group, which noted that free, fair and credible elections are the real pillars of democracy, specifically demanded that all national elections be held the same day. It lamented that democracy in the country has been taken away from the control of voters, stressing that elections are too costly and prone to fraud, with billions of naira spent on recruitment of electoral officers, security agencies and logistics, while the courts have become the real electors of leaders. The summit also demanded amendment to the Electoral Act and relevant sections of the 1999 Constitution as amended for bimodal voter accreditation system BVAS and electronic transmission of results in real time to be made mandatory. The Patriots urged the National Assembly to evolve a constitutional framework that will return Nigeria to a truly federal system of government, where the federating units will enjoy the autonomy as obtained in the First Republic and other genuine democracies of the world. The 2025 National Summit, led by the former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyoko, was convened by the Patriots in collaboration with the Nigerian Political Summit Group, NPSG. Reactions have continued to trail the unveiling of the opposition coalition party, African Democratic Congress, ADC. The platform has brought together several political heavyweights ahead of the 2027 general elections. Christopher Lele, who sampled the opinions of Nigerians, said the reactions are varied.
Some political analysts have often faulted the amount of time spent by successive governments in the country on politicking and party activities, leaving actual governance to take the back seat. This worrying development appears to have even gotten worse in the new dispensation, where barely 2 years to the life of the administration, the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, has announced the incumbent president as its sole candidate ahead of the 2027 election. There has also been increasing defections into the party in power from the opposition politicians who apparently want to position themselves ahead of the elections or even for immediate appointments. And bent on ousting the present administration, some heavyweights in the opposition camps, after several months of deliberations, appear to have found a common ground in the African Democratic Congress as a platform to do the battle. But the big question is whether the ADC has what it takes to unseat President Tinubu, who many believe is a veteran in the game of politics and political maneuvering.
As a Nigerian and as a political follower of what has been happening so far, my candid opinion is that the coalition is a good thing if everybody has sincerity of purpose. But the only thing that would affect that coalition would be when they are not able to decide on a single presidential candidate. That is where they will have problems in trying to unseat the current government.
Nobody knows, just like how Labour Party came, people were like happy, but the major thing we are looking at is credible candidates. So credible candidates can come out from any party. Credible candidates can come out from any party. So we don't know if it's going to come out from ADC or Labour Party or PDP. We are not so much concerned about the party. We are concerned about individuals, credible individuals coming out from any political party. That is the only thing I believe can withstand any force that is coming up as opposition. That is my take.
All right. And
I think the caliber of people in that ADC, we have the timber and caliber there. But one problem that is being expected there, if care is not taken, is when it comes to selecting the presidential candidates. If they don't take care and do it, take very good care of that situation, it may mar or make the ADC. Because when people are just looking, watching to see whom they will give that presidential ticket, and it counts. It will count. Because if it's given to a wrong person, then definitely the party will just crumble, just like other political parties.
With 2 years to the next presidential election and with about 70% of the population made up of youths, the involvement of the youth population in the coming election is also of interest for political watchers.
Yes, youth will come out in their numbers. I believe in the youth power. Youth will. I will also come out, and I'm going to lead my followers also to come out.
INEC is the major problem that the youth see as what they will affect their trust in the electoral process. So if we as Nigerians will work on INEC, because I had an experience where my voter's card I registered in Lagos. I was in Enugu and I got a text message from INEC to come and collect my voter's card in Lagos. I drove from here to Lagos only for INEC officials to tell me that my name is not in the register. Do you understand? So that kind of fraudulent activity that happens inside INEC is the major problem that Nigeria will definitely always have. So if we work on INEC before 2027, it doesn't matter the coalition or not, as in the mind of Nigerians will come true.
There will be voter apathy, but that we have to sensitize the youth to do the best they can, because this time, if these people bring the sellable candidates, you will see people trooping to vote for that very person. So, if a credible candidate is the case now, we see a change of heart of youths.
The quest for a better Nigeria is coming at a time when Nigeria's democracy is under heightened scrutiny, ranging from questions about the credibility of the electoral process to calls for greater political inclusiveness and institutional accountability. Christopher Lele reporting for Signature TV.
Wave of opposition is trailing the federal government's recent decision to rename the University of Maiduguri UNIMAID as Muhammadu Buhari University. Already, the alumni, students, and concerned citizens are calling on President Bola Tinubu to halt the move. In an open letter widely circulated across social and traditional media, the stakeholders acknowledged the legacy of the late former President Muhammadu Buhari, but cautioned that changing the institution's name would undermine a well-established identity built over 4 decades. Petitioners championed by Obayemi Olatinwo described the university as a symbol of resilience, academic excellence, and regional pride. Petition endorsed by thousands of signatories, including current students and distinguished alumni, argued that the proposed renaming does not reflect the views of the university's core stakeholders and broader Nigerian public. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, and the Federal Character Commission, FCC, have agreed to establish a joint task force to tackle job racketeering and promote fairness in recruitment across federal government agencies. This was announced during a strategic meeting between the ICPC chairman, Adamu Aliyu, and the acting executive chairman of FCC, Kayode Oledele, at the FCC headquarters in Abuja. Aliyu said the collaboration aims to address the growing number of complaints from young Nigerians who allege that they are being denied employment due to backdoor recruitments and nepotism in public service hiring process. ICPC chairman warned that continued imbalance could erode public trust in government institutions, said the proposed task force would monitor recruitment exercises, share intelligence, and prevent employment abuses before they occur. Acting chairman of the Federal Character Commission, Kayode Oledele, welcomed the initiative and confirmed the Commission's readiness to work closely with ICPC to restore fairness and unity in federal recruitment. It disclosed that the FCC had recently directed all government agencies to submit their nominal roles for a character balance index assessment, warning that any agency that fails to comply will face enforcement. The federal government has directed the immediate closure of part of a Kefi bridge due to damage caused by a heavy-duty vehicle on parts of the bridge in Abuja. The Minister of Works, David Umai, who confirmed the closure, said the measure is to prevent further damage and ensure public safety, and attributed the bridge collapse to direct violations of traffic codes, especially the use of high-bed trucks that exceed the standard headroom. The minister emphasized the importance of adhering to codes and standards in bridge design and construction, citing the 5.6-meter headroom standard for flyovers, said there was need to adopt a minimum headroom of 6.5 meters for flyovers to accommodate taller vehicles. He added that the ministry would henceforth start installing heavy metal gateways to detect and prevent overhyped vehicles from accessing bridges. The chairman of Agatu local government area of Benue State, Melvin AJ, has appealed to the federal government to urge for urgent intervention and support in rebuilding communities devastated by repeated attacks by suspected Fulani headsmen. AJ made the appeal after a comprehensive 8-hour assessment tour of critical public infrastructure across 15 settlements in Usha, Ugole, Kaduna, and Ugole Okbaulu wards in Agatu West, aimed at facilitating the safe return of internally displaced persons, IDPs, and guiding the rehabilitation of essential facilities. AJ will emphasize the need for restoration of basic infrastructure to enable displaced residents to return home and resume their lives, noted that several communities in the area remain abandoned due to destroyed infrastructure and security concerns. Expressed gratitude to Governor Hyacinth Alia for his commitment to the security and welfare of Agatu people, but also acknowledging President Bola Tinubu's ongoing federal support. The council boss assured that the council will rejuvenate the war-torn communities and restore lasting peace and development through sustained rehabilitation efforts. The Plateau State government has indicted the Nigerian army over its failure to arrest or neutralize the gunmen who invaded Jebu Binde village of Tahos district in Riyom local government area on Monday. Over 30 people were killed and property with millions of naira destroyed. Commissioner for Information Joyce Rapnap, who spoke on television program on Friday, blamed the military for not arresting or neutralizing any of the gunmen who were suspected to be Fulani militias despite the proximity of a checkpoint to the community. Ramnap noted that with a military checkpoint barely 200 meters from the attacked community, the troops would have easily apprehended the attackers but failed to do so, a development which has raised questions on their commitment to protecting the life and property of Nigerians. She said the government was exasperated that the community that was attacked by the marauders is close to an access road which has military checkpoints, describing the fresh killings as unprovoked and despicable. Commissioner assured that the state government will do everything possible to protect the people from further attacks by bloodthirsty marauders and ensure that peace returns to the state. Up ahead, Enugu police bust kidnap gangs, arrest 5, recover 10 million in multiple operations. Center for Memories partners Signature TV for preservation of Igbo heritage. Details of these and more after the break.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The Enugu State Police Command says it has recorded a series of breakthroughs in its intensified crackdown on kidnapping and other violent crimes, leading to arrest of 5 suspects and rescue of a kidnapped victim. Spokesperson for the command, Daniel Ndukwe, disclosed in a statement in Enugu that the successful operations, which spanned from July 5 to 16, 2025, were carried out by various tactical squads in synergy with community security outfits, including the Neighborhood Watch, Forest Guards, and local hunters. Ndukwe disclosed that police operatives attached to the Okpuje Division, acting on a distress call, stormed a forest in Okpuje community in Suka local government area, where a group of armed kidnappers had been sighted. The hoodlums opened fire on the approaching team, prompting a swift counterattack that led to the death of one of the suspects, while the team recovered an AK-47 rifle loaded with 2 live rounds of ammunition from the neutralized suspect, while others fled. In another development, the anti-cultism tactical squad apprehended 2 female suspects, Juliet Chukwu, aged 39, and 40-year-old Nancy Chukwu, were caught sharing 10 million naira ransom allegedly collected from the Kingsmen after a failed kidnap plot. The sisters, who claimed to be law enforcement officers, were arrested a day after the botched abduction, while the kidnapped victim was rescued unearthed, and a Toyota Corolla vehicle, along with the entire ransom sum, was recovered. The Abia State Police Command says it has discovered and destroyed camps used by criminals along the Isukwato axis in Abia State, and arrested 4 suspected criminals inside their hideout. The command also said that it recovered various exhibits during the operation, including 1 locally made pistol, 1 knife, 1 iPhone 7 Plus, 1 Infinix phone, and 1 laptop computer. A statement by the spokesperson of the command, Maureen Chinaka, named the arrested suspects to include Jerry Chisom, Tochukwu Ugula, Chinonso Wankwo, and Kingsley Onyekeba. Chinaka said the report was received at Uturu Divisional Police Headquarters on the 16th of this month regarding a group of suspected armed robbers who have been terrorizing and dispossessing students of the Abia State University, Uturu, and other residents of their belongings. Officers from the Uturu Division Headquarters, in collaboration with local residents led by the Divisional Police Officer, successfully traced the hideout of the suspects and apprehended the male suspects, said that there are ongoing efforts in a bid to reach that area of criminal elements and activities. A statement urged Abia residents to report suspicious persons and activities through the command's emergency phone hotlines. Authorities in Kano State have confirmed the arrest of 11 students of government boarding secondary school, Bichi, following the brutal killing of 2 of their fellow students. Confirming the arrest, the spokesperson of the Kano State Police Command, Abdullahi Kiyawa, said that the students are currently being interrogated to determine the roles in the killings and ensure justice for the victims and their families. Kiyawa urged the public to remain calm and allow the law to take its course, even as the school has been placed under close monitoring as investigations continue. The bodies of the deceased students deposited at the Bichi General Hospital morgue for where a post-mortem examination is expected to be conducted. The two deceased students identified as Hamza Idris Tufawa and Umar Yusuf Dungurawa were allegedly attacked by their peers using locally fabricated metal objects referred to as gwale gwale. The Sokoto State Police Command has announced the arrest of a suspected Lakurawa bandit and the recovery of an AK-49 rifle with ammunition following a swift intelligence-led operation. Commissioner of Police Ahmed Musa will disclose this in a statement issued on Thursday, said the operatives of the command's anti-kidnapping unit acted decisively on credible intelligence, leading to the arrest of one Buba Magaji from Juliko village in Silame local government area. Musa described the arrest and arms recovery as a significant breakthrough in the ongoing efforts to rid the state of criminal elements. The CP commended the vigilance of community members whose tip-off led to the successful operation and urged continued public cooperation in the fight against crimes. The Nigerian police force has announced the rescue of 31 kidnapped victims in two separate operations in Taraba and Edo State. Police Force Public Relations Officer Lumi Wadejobi will disclose this in a statement on Friday, explaining that efforts are currently being intensified to ensure the apprehension and prosecution of the fleeing perpetrators. He said the successful outcomes reflect the reinforced commitment of the Nigerian police force to citizens' protection and national security. He commended the gallantry and swift action of the operatives involved in both operations and assured the public that targeted operations to dismantle criminal networks across the country will continue with renewed vigor. Nigerian troops have rejected a 13.7 million naira bribe from suspected terrorists in Plateau State. Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Marcus Ganye, disclosed this during a press briefing in Abuja, said the troops of Operation Safe Haven intercepted a bullet-riddled vehicle on Jos Sanga Road. Suspects inside the vehicle, it said, attempted to bribe their way out with the amount, but that the offer was rejected, while some weapons, ammunition, and cash in their possession were seized. He added that two bandits were neutralized in an ambush by troops in Kwampam local government area, where several others escaped with gunshot wounds. Additional operations across Plateau, Kaduna, and Nasarawa states led to the arrest of 7 suspects and the recovery of arms, motorcycles, and illicit drugs, while in Borno State, 2 NURTW members were arrested in Biu for allegedly transporting military gear to terrorists. The Center for Memories, Enugu, and Signature TV have agreed to go into a partnership aimed at promoting and preserving the Igbo history, language, and culture. 2 organizations reached the agreement when the management of the center visited the Raymond Dekwesi corporate headquarters of the Signature TV, Thinkers Corner, Enugu. Correspondent Christopher Lele has the story.
Founded in 2017, the Center for Memories, located in the southeastern city of Enugu, has operated with a slogan, Maka Onya Ta Na Echi, which translates to for yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It was established as a hub for the preservation and promotion of the culture and history of Ndi Igbo. To carry out this divine mandate, the center has collaborated with artists, museums, and other cultural institutions in creating exhibitions celebrating Igbo language, as well held memorials for key historical moments, and hosted book clubs, readings, and speaker series with notable figures. It has formed educative programs for children featuring Igbo language, art, and history, and despite the major challenge of funding, the Center for Memories has drawn over 10,000 visitors. The center believes that by collaborating with a reputable media organization like Signature TV, it will be able to discharge its set objectives more effectively. The center's executive director, Ihai Igboko, noted that the collaboration with Signature TV primarily is to conserve and promote Igbo history, language, and culture. Igboko further said that Africans, especially the Igbos, have not done enough to have materials for research purposes.
Your work is one that we deem very important, not just for our Igbo, but for our society. Because for every society that must, develop and move, and there has to be some level of conversations, communication, strategy, idea. and that is the gap. If we begin to reach out to you to see how we can formalize this in terms of partnership, then it means that we are ignorant of what you're doing and ignorant of where we need to be. And this visit underscores that we want to work better with Signature. We want Signature to be a permanent feature in what the center is doing, and we also look out for ways that the center can also, contribute to the work that you're doing, because your work is a very important work for us, for Ndibo, for Nigeria, for our society.
President and Chief Executive Officer of Signature TV, Vin Martin Obiora Ilo, expressed the readiness of the station to partner with the center to create more memories on screen and promote Igbo culture to the world. He noted that the Center for Memories came at the right time of cultural revocation for the Igbo people.
Between Center for Memories and us, we can identify some Igbo culture that is dying, that we can do documentaries on. Proper research, the proper people to talk to, and like 30 minutes or 1 hour, those are things we have to decide on. The basic thing is that we'd like to collaborate and we'd like to partner.
It is expected that the relationship between the two organizations will not only help in preserving the heritage of the people, but go a long way to rekindle the interest of the younger generation in positive values embedded in Igbo culture and history. Christopher Lele, reporting for Signature TV.
Analysts predict drop in inflation rates below 18% by November this year. NCC unveils framework to boost innovation and bridge connectivity gaps. Details of these and more in Business News.
Nigeria's headline inflation could fall to between 17.0% and 17.9% by November 2025, according to analysts at Stanbic IBTC, citing favorable base effects and relative macroeconomic stability. While short-term inflation may rise in July and August due to seasonal food pressures, year-on-year rates are expected to moderate. Core inflation is projected to remain stable at 1.1% to 1.3% monthly, supported by benign energy costs and a steady naira. Analysts say the central bank may hold interest rates at the July MPC meeting, with a possible rate cut expected in September, depending on inflation trends. Ahead of March 31, 2026 banking sector recapitalization deadline, Sterling Financial Holdings Company has unveiled plans to raise $400 million across multiple phases and instruments. According to Bloomberg, CEO Abubakar Suleiman said the funds will support the group's long-term goals and regulatory compliance with new Central Bank of Nigeria requirements. So far, Sterling has secured 89.75 billion naira, with a 52.2 billion naira gap remaining. A 100 billion naira public offer is planned this quarter. Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Dr. Imomotimi Agama, will deliver the keynote address at the Commercial Partners Half-Year Economic Review and Outlook in Lagos on Wednesday, July 23rd. Themed Reconfiguration from Global Trade to Quantum Innovation, the event will feature 2 panel sessions and the formal presentation of Commercial's first half 2025 economic review and the second half outlook. Notable speakers include Professor Philip Alege, Dr. Muda Yusuf, Femi Adebayo, Professor Joseph Nana, and other top economists and financial experts. Commercial Partners, a key player in Nigeria's financial sector, is recognized for innovation and advisory excellence across sub-Saharan Africa. The Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, has launched a general authorization framework, GAF, aimed at boosting innovation and expanding digital access to underserved communities. Unveiled during a stakeholder forum in Abuja, NCC's Executive Vice Chairman Dr. Aminu Maida said the framework enables innovators to test new ideas without regulatory barriers, supporting responsible innovation and digital inclusion. The GAF introduces flexible licensing models, drawing on global benchmarks like the UK's Ofcom sandbox, and is seen as key to closing Nigeria's connectivity gaps while accelerating its digital economy. Stakeholders were urged to collaborate to ensure successful implementation. The Debt Management Office DMO has announced a total allotment of 4.27 billion naira for the federal government of Nigeria savings bonds issued in July 2025, surpassing the 4.01 billion naira recorded in June. The two-year bond maturing July 2027 was allotted at a 15.762% coupon rate, while the three-year bond due in July 2028 was issued at 16.762%, a decline from June's 17.121%. Over 2,600 successful subscriptions were recorded across both tenors, with quarterly coupon payments set for October, January, April, and July. The bonds offered at 1,000 naira per unit aim to attract retail investors and support government funding needs. And that's business news on Global News. I am Tomsinime Natus.
Still to come, Germany hosts EU interior ministers to discuss stricter migration measures. Eyewitness recounts moment of Felix Baumgartner's fatal paragliding crash. Do stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
British 16 and 17-year-olds spoke on Friday about the possible influence of social media on their parents and how they might vote in future elections. Children aged 16 and above were granted right to vote in all UK elections on Thursday. Some felt that proper education was needed to protect young voters from political misinformation on social media, while others disagreed with the decision altogether.
I feel like it's pretty irresponsible, because I don't think people so young should be able to make decisions that can change a whole nation's way of living and so many different things. And yeah, I just don't really agree with it myself personally. Yeah, social media's given me an impression that he's made some decisions that aren't very great, I'd say, from what I've heard. But I don't know the grand scheme of it, so yeah.
I think it's good because they're the future, and if they have a say in their future instead of older people try to dictate what they're going to do, then it's a lot better and beneficial for them. It depends, probably make my own decisions, but I can't see how my dad would have a different view from me, to be honest. But probably decide on my own, but see all of it, consider it all.
I mean, I wouldn't follow my parents. They wouldn't force me to follow them, so I'll probably just do what I want. Yeah, they sort of talked about him, joked about him and stuff like that, because I've seen them on TikTok and stuff like that. But I don't think they're big fans of him.
Germany's Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt guided his counterparts from neighboring France, Denmark, Poland, Australia and the Czech Republic on Friday to discuss stricter migration measures. The meeting on the picturesque Zugspitze, Germany's highest mountain, came 1 month after Chancellor Friedrich Merz said a court ruling against expulsion by German border police of 3 Somali asylum seekers could restrict his government's migration crackdown, but would not stop it. People will continue to be turned away at the German border, Merz said at the time. His Interior Minister was expected to address reporters at 3 p.m. Dozens of demonstrators gathered outside the U.S. Embassy in Kuala Lumpur on Friday to protest against the proposed appointment of Nick Adams, a self-styled alpha male influencer, as United States envoy to Malaysia. President Donald Trump last week named outspoken author and political commentator Adams as a White House nominee for U.S. ambassador to Malaysia. Adams, a naturalized U.S. citizen originating from Australia, has cultivated a brash social media persona using a macho alpha male branding. His online post harshly criticized Islam and showed support for Israel's military campaign in Gaza, angering residents of a Muslim-majority Malaysia and triggering a rare protest against a foreign diplomatic appointment in a Southeast Asian country. Mexican tomato farmers in Baja California have expressed deep concern over new U.S. tariffs that threaten their primary export market as the termination of a suspension agreement reinstated a 17% anti-dumping duty on their produce. The Trump administration announced on Monday a duty of about 17% on fresh tomatoes from Mexico, which accounts for 2/3 of the tomatoes eaten in the U.S. at the end of an export deal between the two countries. Roberto Celorio, president of Baja California's Agricultural Council and director of Heirloom Farms, described the measure as politically motivated rather than commercially logical. Workers at packing facilities like Victoria Aguila expressed worry about job security, noting that domestic Mexican consumption of specialty tomatoes remains minimal compared to U.S. demand.
This is a measure not taken from commercial logic, because commercial logic indicates that the agreement should prevail. We believe it is a decision with political and protectionist overtones. We are open to negotiating so that producers, in this case from Florida or U.S. products, can recover part of the market. We have always been willing to do this gradually, but right now we have to adapt to the conditions. In some way they are trying to reactivate their industry, to reactivate their producers, and we may not agree with the way they are doing it, but somehow they are trying. We doubt they could have the capacity to do it in the short term, but it's a country decision, it's very much their decision that is affecting us tremendously. We cannot enter into a scheme where as an industry everyone starts exporting or doing whatever they want.
The truth is it's a very delicate and truly worrying issue for us who depend on tomatoes farming. Yes, it will be affected, because what we work on is for that particular market, the U.S. market. Here the national market consumes very little cherry tomatoes and heirloom tomatoes.
Controlled U.S. House of Representatives early on Friday passed President Donald Trump's $9 billion funding cut to public media and foreign aid, sending it to the White House to be signed into law. The chamber voted 216 to 213 in favor of a funding cut package altered by the Senate this week to exclude cuts of about $400 million in funds for the global PEPFAR HIV/AIDS prevention program. Only two House Republicans voted against the cut, Representatives Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania and Mike Turner from Ohio, along with Democrats. China wants to bring commercial ties with the United States back to a state of healthy and sustainable development, Commerce Minister Wang Wentao said on Friday, calling on the U.S. to behave in a way that befits its major country status. He characterized the ups and downs in China-U.S. trade relations as having taught both sides what they need each other.
China-U.S. economic and trade relations have weathered many storms, yet the two countries remain important economic and trade partners to each other. As China and the U.S. are the world's two largest economies, we often say that major powers should act like major powers, and a major power should have the corresponding responsibility and sense of duty. Economic and trade issues between China and the U.S. are not just bilateral matters. They also play a key role in injecting stability and certainty into global economic growth and prosperity. Moreover, the two countries are not only trade partners but investment partners. The business communities of the two countries have close exchanges. Every March, as everyone has seen, many American companies come to China. The Ministry of Commerce has received many people. Just yesterday, I met with the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, at the ministry. He's been trending online recently. Yesterday he also visited the Ministry of Commerce. Attempts to forcibly decouple and sever ties, despite the ups and downs, has led to one clear conclusion. Especially on the US side, it has become clear that forced decoupling is simply not viable. Why? Because it goes against economic laws and public sentiment.
US President Donald Trump hiked tariffs on Chinese products to over 100% earlier this year, before walking back much of the hefty duties in a trade truce with Beijing reached in May. China has until August 12 to reach a deal with Washington to avoid Trump's reinstating additional import curbs imposed during tit-for-tat tariff exchanges in April and May. The current overall tariff level imposed by the US on China is at a still high 53.6%, one told the press conference. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva said on Thursday that Brazil had always been open to dialogue with the United States, but rejected what he described as unacceptable blackmail and threats to Brazilian institutions. Lula warned that any attempt to interfere in Brazil's justice system was a serious attack on national sovereignty, and stressed that foreign digital platforms must follow Brazilian regulations.
Brazil has always been open to dialogue. We held more than 10 meetings with the US government, and on May 16 we sent them a proposal for negotiation and waited for a response. What we got was unacceptable blackmail in the form of threats to Brazilian institutions and false information about trade between Brazil and the United States. Trying to interfere in Brazilian justice is a serious attack on national sovereignty. The defense of sovereignty also applies to foreign digital platforms. In Brazil, in order to operate in our country, all national and foreign companies are obliged to comply with the rules. We will continue to focus on good diplomatic and trade relations, not just with the United States, but with all the countries in the world. We will not accept an attack on PX. Bed's note, PIX is a Brazilian instant payment system created by the Brazilian Central Bank, which is a heritage of our people. If necessary, we will use all legal instruments to defend our economy, from appeals to the World Trade Organization to the Reciprocity Law, approved by Congress.
An eyewitness on Friday described the moment Felix Baumgartner, a paraglider, suddenly dropped from the sky near the swimming pool of a beachside resort in central Italy on Thursday.
I was just here. For a moment I said, "What's happening?" I thought he was landing, but then I saw him fall all at once and I said, "He fell." I was here on the beach, facing toward the mimosa trees, and I saw this parachute, this paraglider, suddenly drop.
Baumgartner lost control of his motorized paraglider while flying over Porto Sant'Elpidio in Italy's central Marche region and fell to the ground near the swimming pool of a hotel, local police said. The reasons for the accident were unclear. Porto Sant'Elpidio's mayor, Massimiliano Schiapella, said reports suggested he may have suffered a sudden medical issue mid-air and offered the town's condolences for the death of a symbol of courage and passion for extreme flights. Borders gathered at Nasser Hospital on Friday to bid farewell to several Palestinians killed in Israeli strikes in Khan Yunis, according to Gaza health officials.
We were displaced. Where would we go? We went to El Mawasi. We move here and there. Where do we go? Every day is a massacre. This girl is alone. What are the children guilty of? What are the people in the tents guilty of? They are sitting without food or drink. Even in their misery they are not leaving them alone. Even in their misery they are not leaving them alone. God is sufficient for us, and that is it. It's all on the children, it's all on the displaced people. Every day we are displaced. Every day, look at our situation. Where is the ceasefire? Every day is a massacre. Every day there are 30 and 40 people getting killed. Every day, where's the ceasefire? They just say this to numb us. It's only to calm us.
Israel has regularly said it takes steps to avoid hitting civilians. Israel said it's seeking to eliminate militants from Hamas, which attacked southern Israel from Gaza in 2023, and free hostages still held by the group. Israeli and Hamas negotiators have been taking part in the latest round of ceasefire talks in Doha since July 6, discussing a US-backed proposal for a 60-day ceasefire. The latest bloodshed in the decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict was triggered in October 2023 when Hamas attacked Israel, killing 1,200 and taking about 250 hostages, Israeli tallies show. Heavy rains resulted in sharp rise of water levels in the rivers across many districts in Sakha Republic, a vast but sparsely populated region in Russia's eastern Siberia. The Yakutian Regional Directorate of the Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations has launched a full-scale rescue and relief operation in affected areas, according to press officer Knesnia Rakomatulina. More than 200 emergency personnel and some 60 aerial, water and ground vehicles are deployed as part of the ongoing relief operation. Domestic animals are not forgotten either. Herds of cattle are being driven to safety, the directorate reported.
The heavy rainfalls in Oyamayakan and Momsky districts resulted in sharp rise of water levels in the basin of Indijirka River. According to initial estimations, 376 courtyards and 93 residential buildings and 2 roads have been flooded in 8 villages. More than 100 persons, including 31 child, evacuated from the flooded areas. The local authorities prepared in advance 9 temporary shelters. At present, they accommodate 57 persons, including 31 child. Other evacuees stay with their friends and relatives.
That's the news this hour. I am Barry Kumado. Thank you very much for joining us.